Hey everybody, you're tuned in now to the Bland Family Podcast, and I'm here with my co-host,
Molly.
and we are going to be talking about all kinds of things today. The reason why we started this podcast is we were having a really amazing late night discussion about a month or two ago, and I felt like it would help so many people hear those discussions that we kind of have behind closed doors and give people a sneak peek into some of the things that we do to make our lives healthy in our eyes, and all of the different holistic nuances that we take to try and make our life the most pleasurable possible. On top of that, we just notice some things socially and in our reality that it's cool to touch upon. It's better to talk about the hot button issues rather than to just let these things go. So we're going to kick off with most common questions. So Molly, what are some common questions that a lot of people call or email or message us with?
So, something that we get often is different variations of, do you treat this? Have you seen patients with this condition? And, when it comes down to it, we see patients with all types of conditions. It's not really dependent on a specific condition at the end of the day.
Yeah, and to add to that, as I was in school, undergrad and graduate, they give you the tools as a doctor to focus on certain things, obviously. And what my practice focuses it on, and what I continue to educate myself with as I do continuing education every year, is we deal with a lot of chronically ill patients. Most of my patients, they have been to maybe 3, 4, 5 doctors. I'm usually not somebody's first stop, and it's safe to say that most or a lot of our clientele have seen somebody in the holistic model before, right?
I would say so. I'd say it's about a 70-30 mix of about 70% have seen holistic practitioners before, and about 30% have friends or family who have seen a holistic practitioner, and that's why they decided to come find us. There are occasionally some people who do that research on their own, and they are just looking for a holistic model, and we're there to provide that for them.
Yeah, and as a doctor, our goal is to help each patient obtain health and wellness. So why not start by looking into holistic measures? And that is what we provide. I provide a second opinion for people who have been told that they're fine. And even if their blood tests say they're fine and this doctor says they're fine, I'm here to provide a second opinion to anybody out there that just is totally unsure and uncomfortable with what they've been told about their health and wellness. So to move on, let's talk about good and bad foods. So a lot of people ask us, is this good? Is this bad? Or, Dr. Bland told me I had to remove this from the diet. So why don't we talk about that experience that some people have?
I think that when people first come into the practice, something that they need to learn as they go through the process is to not see things as so black and white.
Absolutely.
And people come in with these ideas of that there's super health foods that they've been trying, and they've been filling themselves with these things that are supposed to be really healthy, but it may not be healthy for them
at that moment.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And I was in a webinar with a couple of different healthcare practitioners, and one of the practitioners was a nutritionist, veterinary nutritionist, and they were explaining and looking at all of the animals in the animal kingdom, and they have just a very specific diet. A dog eats what a dog eats, a cow eats what a cow eats. We could vary it by changing and us humans feeding them different things. But for the most part, animals eat certain diets and they're just healthy. So we asked, well, why is it so different with humans? And that's just, I guess, the mystery and part of being human, and possibly a reaction that a lot of us are having to modern industrialization from the farming practices. A lot of the farming practices, regardless if you're going to get into the argument of GMO or non-GMO, farming has changed a lot in the past 120 years, and so has agriculture. So I think that when it comes down to it, there isn't a good or a bad food. There is what is appropriate for the patient. And it's very interesting. Sometimes a lot of us, our bodies, when we're not well, we kind of crave stuff that we're not supposed to. And that's more so related to the microbiome. And we'll get into that maybe another topic. But let's go into a more family topic that we have recently undertook, which is homeschooling. Bring us into homeschooling.
Homeschooling started for us as a temporary measure. We had, schools had switched to online, and we didn't really feel like Cruz was being challenged. A lot of the work that came home, while I could see the benefit if they were in a classroom, it really just didn't translate to him doing it solo, meeting once weekly online. And so we started on our own path to try and educate and follow his cues of what he is able to learn. And I think it's allowed us to not only foster a deeper sense of learning within him, but it's also allowed him to develop and grow so far beyond, his peers in such a short period of time. He's gone from, he was in kindergarten when schools shut down, so he is now about to be a second grader, and he is at a 5th to 6th grade reading level. He is doing 4th to 6th grade math. He learns things that interest him, and he's able to really envelop himself in in topics that make him motivated to keep learning.
And that's where we've had, before what was going on in the world, we've had the need for education reform. Me personally, I was in an alternative, private study program in high school, so I already know how you can grow in those independent study environments, and having different students break off into different groups to work on different projects that they're interested in is so necessary for the children. But also, I know you guys out there have seen us online skateboarding, and as silly as it is, that is a huge part of homeschooling. That is a part of our physical education. Besides the weightlifting and the working out that you see us do online, that's a huge part of health and wellness. Is I can go to the gym by myself, but incorporating my family is huge, and it's been fun. So it's been cool to incorporate some things in my life and bring it into the homeschooling realm, and watching Cruz grow and learn. And skateboarding is just one of those things that you're gonna fail at over and over again. And as a young man, learning that failure and getting up and keep trying has been also a huge part of watching him grow in arithmetic and other scientific endeavors. Something that we also have been working on as a whole family is finding our authentic selves through things that we love, as well as being in this practice, serving the people. Everybody knows I love to work out and skateboard, and I'm a musician. And Molly, what do you like?
I love to do art. I love to skate.
Painting. A little sewing. Baking. Killer baker. The best.
Love to bake.
Loves to bake. Very, very awesome. And we do these hobbies and we share them with people. And we talk about it. And this loving, giving, doing out of service and abundance is just is a beautiful thing to share with your family and the people around you. But I also wanted to talk about, the authentic self of everybody, and I wanted to give a message of empowerment to everybody to really find that authentic self inside of you and kindly and politely just let that shine. Proudly let that shine. It's very important. So next, let's talk about patients and doctors. So around the world and in Washington, we have found that there is a lack of doctors. Yeah. So why don't you touch a little bit upon that?
We do hear often from patients or prospective patients that there is no doctor who does the work that we do in their area. And part of it, I think, comes with just that there aren't as many people who do the specialized work that you do. So, that is going to make it more difficult to find doctors. But it's also just, they're really just,
what's interesting, sorry to cut you off, what's interesting to me is, over the past couple of years, it seems like a bunch of doctors have not been so available for people. And there's this weird kind of scheduling and getting scheduled to a lot of doctors. And personally, we've made some appointments and we're told we couldn't see somebody for months.
Yeah.
Months out. We changed our, situation, and we just needed to put a primary care for our, insurance, and was going to be 4 or 5 months to just see a guy who was decent. And it's just very interesting, and the way it's scheduled and structured, that you have to go to your primary care, and then he will send you to somebody else, and they'll do a test or two, and then that guy will send you for another test, and then before you know it, a month goes by and nothing that you're trying to work on with your health and wellness has gotten done. And what's it like in our office? What are the wait times in our office?
In our office, we do whatever we can to get people in as soon as possible, because if someone is at that point where they're looking for care, we want to make sure that we're able to provide that. We don't want to make people have to wait to be able to get better.
And how long would you say when somebody comes into the office and sits in the seat, how long are they sitting in the seat?
Less than 10 minutes.
Sometimes they don't even make it to the
seat.
seat.
Most people don't make it to the seat.
And I pride myself in running a practice for the people, something that is for the people, because I know that I have people who are coming to me, patients that are coming to me from lunch, and they want to get better, they need to get better, they're calling in from another country, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning at their time. They're doing everything they can to get in, and when people leave the office, they're what are they leaving with? They're leaving with a complete plan. Molly will give them their supplements, and they have a meal plan, they have an exercise plan, they already had gotten an adjustment and some body work. Most people, they're only focusing on such a small fragment of the issue, and I think what really makes this a special place and it's so exciting for us is that we're just giving everything. We're giving all of the information for a patient to wake up the next day and engage in a health and wellness plan, that they don't have to guess or ask somebody else or go to another appointment. If necessary, Molly sends out for labs, and it's just handled correctly. So next, we're going to talk about how supplements are different than medicine, and I wanted to have Molly kind of talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, so when you take a medication, you're usually taking it for a fairly specific reason. It usually works as a quick fix, works pretty quickly. And a supplement is a process. You're not taking a supplement just to fix your shoulder or fix your stomach. You're taking a supplement to set your whole body on the right tone and the right track to be able to heal itself and to be able to fix those issues. They don't make you feel different. You're not going to take a supplement and, it's an all over body experience. A supplement makes your body do what it's supposed to do, and helps suggest that your body does what it's meant to do, as opposed to a medication that forces your body into reacting a specific way.
And I think that was perfect, and it was beautiful. We are living in a society where we want things to kind of happen, and there's a lot of people who call supplements pseudoscience or snake oil, and we get a lot of crazy messages online, hate messages. Believe it or not, hate messages at crazy times of the day. You're a snake oil salesman, you're fake, this and that, and it's people have a perception, and that's totally cool. Everyone's allowed to have a perception, and I usually laugh at these things. But what's so amazing about it is, we're not used to having patients in our society, so most people try a supplement and they're like, hey, I don't feel different. I just took vitamin D, I didn't do anything, There needs to be a reason for it, and you need to be taking the right kind by somebody who is giving you a high quality level of supplements, which brings me to our next topic. N-acetylcysteine is an amazing supplement used for liver detox. It's used for asthma, allergies, and a lot of people have been kind of telling other people to use it over the past year or two, and it got to the point where the FDA is now regulating N-acetylcysteine, also known as NAC, and it's really, really interesting that they're taking it off Amazon and eBay, and finally people are starting to wake up and realize the dangers of getting supplements from online, because you could be buying an amazing supplement and you don't know which seller is selling it you. Just because you're getting a good product, whether it be Thorne or Pure, it's beside the point, because you don't know who got the product and how they obtained it. And of course, they're not medical practitioners selling to you on Amazon. And what's really interesting with the NAC, now they're labeling things NAC, such as N-acetylcarnitine. Well, it's N-acetylcysteine is what you want. N-acetylcarnitine is there for people who are knowing, or almost in the know or not in the know, of getting caught and trying to get this supplement that they're taking off the market. So people are just trying to pull whatever they can that's on the shelves left. And I find this level of marketing to be, it's interesting. Everybody's got to make their money somehow, so I can't really, knock it. But if there's people doing illegal things, I really have to let people know that it's really, really an unsafe and unscrupulous practice to deceive customers based on health and wellness purchases. And on top of that, to go a little bit deeper into censorship and holistic practitioners over the past couple of years, I have seen tons of people I went to school with, holistic doctors, regular doctors, have their Instagrams shut down, have stories pulled. We've had stuff pulled.
We've had stuff pulled, and
immediately you've done some posts.
Yeah, that have just come right down, and we're not posting anything controversial.
No, we really try and do a good job.
It's very easy in today's society to fall into a controversial situation, and I think that we make a conscious effort to stay outside of these sort of topics, just because this is a place of healing for everyone, and everyone is entitled to their opinions and their choices, and that's a big thing that we want to support and foster within our office, is the ability for each individual to feel in control of their health, because I think something that's pushed far too often in today's society is not being collaborative with your doctor and with your health, and a lot of people just have these care plans that they have no involvement in, they didn't.
Yeah, it's very authoritarian, just like our tiny puppy Molly. When we got her, we were like, she's a baby, and they wanted to throw all these vaccines, and we got her a little young, and we're really excited to get her, but she was 1.7 pounds, and when she got her first vaccine, it was just way too much.
Yeah.
It was like, you could tell that it just wasn't a great reaction, and I'm not anti this. I don't take sides. It's not my business to. But it just wasn't the right thing. And, even though we had this bad experience, the model that is set forth had other plans for us. And, being a strong-willed family and a smart family who's resourceful, we said, all right, well, if she needs another shot, let's figure out what the right thing is to do. So we got a holistic vet. Shout out to Dr. Bart. We decided to get some blood titers for her to see if she needed the same thing again. And that lets us know it's not about blindly accepting what the mainstream has for us. It's about figuring out what's right and what's wrong, and that's what I do, and that's what Molly does, is we help spread this information to empower communities around the world to make the right decision. Because what's the point of taking a vaccine if you already have the antibodies? In this, we're talking about a dog here. We're not talking about anything very serious, but for me, it's extremely serious. This dog's like my daughter's family, and it's very interesting, how there's been so much censorship on people trying to make a decision for themselves, because people need to do what they need to do, but I see a specific amount of patients, a very small niche of the world, who have chronic illnesses and heart transplants and all kinds of other interesting and extremely rare things. I have a patient who has acute pyphoria. That's like 1 in 10 million. It's some of these things I see, some doctors will never see in their lifetime. And when it comes down to it, we really need to be realizing that there are individuals, and we need to be sensitive to them to a point. There's a real reality that we need to realize of being too sensitive and then being a regular amount of sensitive. But these people deserve to be able to make choices, and the fact that people like me are being censored and my views on Instagram are choked off at a certain point, I find it to be really ridiculous. And there's a lot of people who need this information and who are looking for it, and they can't find it. So let's go on to the next topic over here. So the next thing that we want to talk about is making lifestyle choices and staying accountable for your health. As a family, we eat healthy, and sometimes we have fun. And Molly is my wellness partner. When I say, Molly, you got to take these chips away, she takes the chips away. But we also work on the bigger issue. Was I just having too much fun with the chips, or was there something that stressed me out over the week that we have to talk about? So why don't you talk about something like that we do?
Yeah, I think that something that's important for us is that, every week we set out what we are going to eat. We meal prep for the entire week. We have that foundation, so that way we know that we will be nourished with healthy, organic food, that's good for us, and that we are going to be able to perform our best all week. So we try and make sure that we always have that available, which does help a lot with, not straying off that and snacking, because one, it's just not there, it's not available. And we have those healthy choices easily and readily available for us. And I think that that's made a big difference in our health, as well as being able to trust each other enough to stop each other when we need it. And to let us know, it's fine to have a treat, it's fine to have a snack, and it's fine to enjoy yourself, and it's necessary. You should not be going through life and never giving yourself that pleasure, because when you do finally get something like that, you could go crazy if you just keep it away from yourself for too long.
Yep.
It's about moderation. It's about being able to stop yourself and being able to form that level of self-control and like realize what you want more than just the chips.
Absolutely. And a lot of people call that like the shadow or their dark side, and that's like it's too psychologically weird for me. I like to call it my gremlin. I like to think of it like this little like monster thing that's walking around with me that's like, I need snacks. And you know, we all need to take time out and feed your gremlin. You need to feed, you know, the side of yourself. And I actually tell a lot of my patients when they first come in, you know, I'm like, hey, look, we're going through this really serious, you know, journey right now, and it looks like you're gonna have to give up some of your foods. So I say to a lot of people, those who can afford it in their health, I say, try giving yourself a time 1 day a week to feed that gremlin, to feed the needs. You know, some people like French fries, some people like chips, some people like cotton candy ice cream or whatever, you know, and you know, it's about mitigating our enjoyment, like, you know, the Buddha thing, the middle way. You know, we're on this path, but you have to kind of grab some things outside of that path every once in a while to recenter you, because a lot of the times the learning experience my patients have from going off of their diet after a week or two, even for a meal, they come back or they'll come in early and be like, oh my God, I was on the right path, and now what happens?
Yeah, someone has the wrong thing and they just completely feel terrible.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes you have to start over, sometimes it's a step back, but I'm not here to shame anybody, because I am everybody else. You know, most people don't realize that doctors are people too, and I think that's what is so important about this podcast. Just be here and show that we're just people, and this is like what we really do. And this is our life. It's really fun, and we love to share about it. One thing that you know that I wrote in my notes is people aren't lazy, but they do expect people to do the work for them, and I think that there's a lot of bad marketing out there. It's going to come out a whole lot harsher from my perspective. Bring it into your perspective about what you see marketed online about holistic healthcare and what some people are like promising and how it's being displayed. You know, it's a little
something that I see often is, try this supplement, it's going to fix your this is this and this.
Your dysbiosis, or
yeah, you know, or everybody should be on this supplement. Everybody should be eating this food, you know. 100% of the people that come to me no longer experience any issues and like live on a cloud, like
yeah,
you know,
it's a ridiculous sentiment. Like that's like no doctor has 100% you know treatment rate. Yeah, you know you have patients that come in and you know sometimes it takes we have people who are just have to work very like vigorously on. There's other people who come in and
2 weeks later everything's great and like their whole life has changed.
Yeah, we had that one gentleman in here who couldn't even feel his hands. Mm-hmm. And how many visits?
2 visits.
2 visits. You know, and if you guys want to know what I did, I couldn't tell you. I do what I do for every patient. I treat them as an individual. I give my heart and my soul. And you know, sometimes you hit a home run. Sometimes it's just a beautiful part of practice.
And I think that goes into something that we get asked and that we see often is, how quickly is this going to work, or how long am I going to need to be in treatment?
Yeah.
And you know, I can't give that answer. And even if I were to give Dr. Bland the phone, you know, when I first get asked that, like he couldn't give that answer either. We don't know like how long it's going to take like our bodies to heal, and you don't know the load that you've put on your body, and everybody's level of sensitivity is different. You know, the two of us here in this room could have completely different reactions to this same stimulus in our environment.
Absolutely.
And that's the case for everybody, and everybody's healing is different too.
And it's really interesting because I do practice with certainty. There is a high level of confidence and certainty that when I'm treating somebody, that like if they are following a care plan that I kind of etched out for them, and they're being somewhat responsible and they're really motivated in their lives, they will start becoming a whole lot more comfortable in their bodies, probably within a month. But others, like I said, it takes a little bit longer. But a lot of people I would say get a month to 6 weeks. They have a very quick wow, okay, I can think again at least. Not all the way. Oops, I'm cured. I can. I was lactose intolerant, couldn't eat a piece of pizza, but still, at least they can go about their lives a little bit more normal.
And I think that feeds into the fact that this is a process, just like taking supplements is a process. Starting making lifestyle choices, going on a diet, exercising, taking things out of your environment isn't going to make you better overnight. There may be things that you could remove from your environment that could be causing you a lot of harm that may make you significantly better overnight.
Sure.
But it's about adding all of these things together and making that support system for yourself and having that foundation within yourself, as opposed to it being, that really quick fix and things getting taken care of right away. You have to, being able to go through this process is definitely a test in patience and something that is important to, I think for life and just for the healing process is to learn to be patient with yourself and give your body that time to heal.
Absolutely. And that's all about giving yourself the space. And I think that there's a lot of confusion because a lot of information is being exchanged at this just hyper critical pace. And you're getting information from doctors, both good and bad. Just because it's from a doctor's mouth, it could be the value of a diamond or the value of dirt on the floor. But there's also a ton of people who are health practitioners or, I don't know, coaches or public figures online. And I don't really believe that people necessarily need a formal education, but there's something about having a formal education or about spending a certain amount of time and having a certain amount of seniority on a topic. And one thing, going to graduate school, it does give you the full picture. Going to school, it gives you the full picture. There's nothing really missing. And even if somebody comes in and brings up a new topic, based on my training, I'm able to extrapolate from knowledge that I already know or easily look up things and learn from a research point of view. But it's really, really interesting because they prey on a lot of people online.
Well, and I think that there is an important component that comes with having that level of medical background. Because, there is a lot of people who, the internet has given everybody the ability to call themselves what they want and to present themselves as whatever they want. And there's really not necessarily that proof behind what they show.
Yeah, it's a movie, it's a TV, it's not,
Well, and there's a big level of people that are just putting information out there for the views and to get popular, and it's not about helping people, it's about feeding their own ego. And
there's also a lot of people trying to make money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's cool. I can't knock anyone's hustle. If you're out there feeding your family, feed your family, do it legally, please. But a lot of people are marketing on the insecurities of the patients that I see and people that I talk to, and some of the horror stories I hear of the authoritarian mindset of these professional men and women is just, I don't know. I can't stand behind it. So there's this definite resistance in the beginning to not even be on Instagram, and I'm not really that socially active, and I really, a couple of years ago wasn't really doing this that much, but I realized that there needs to be somebody like me who's gonna say what they're gonna say, and not be really too shy to say it, because it's not okay. And I see a lot of companies that are starting now that are almost, I would call them mock companies. They almost sound like the same word, and they sell the same kind of supplements, and it makes it really confusing for people and patients when they come in here and they say, well, I saw this supplement, tell me about this cleanse or that cleanse. And that's the last thing some of them need. They need to start over, and totally reassess rather than just start jumping from one thing to another. The marketing has made it so we're going from keto to paleo, which is an interesting thing, the keto. How many times have we heard somebody say that they're keto?
Very, very frequently.
Very frequently, and I'm not here to knock it. I think that it's a good reset for some people, but what's really interesting about it is the only way to really know you're in ketoacidosis is by urine strips or blood strips. So I think a lot of people who are saying that they're saying that they're keto, they're most likely paleo. But I digress. I thought that was cool to talk about. So if you're getting advice from people you don't really know online, which is cool, like talk to everybody, people who know, people who don't know. I do. I ask people all kinds of things. I message all kinds of doctors just because I want to hear their point of view. What's clinically going on in my office might not be the clinical reality of another office. It's just what it is. While we're talking about reality, as we kind of mentioned briefly, there's been a lot of censorship, and there has been a lot of, I guess, people talking negatively about the holistic movement during these past 2 years, and it has been, a struggle to, I don't need to defend, but kind of stand my ground, because I've watched during this time, and so has Molly, a lot of colleagues of mine being called by Border Patrol, by FBI, asking them why are they purchasing certain supplements, why are they using homeopathics. We had gotten a phone call. I thought it was a prank. I was one of the scariest things, we really well-behaved people in this family, and we thought it was a prank, and the FBI called us, and they asked us what we were doing with all of our supplements, and they were assuming I was using supplements to treat COVID, and I don't treat COVID. It's never a thing. It never happened once. It never crossed my mind. It was just regular orders, and there's been a couple of instances of people who I know getting the same phone call. So I wonder how many other people out there are getting phone calls, and why are we being watched for buying some vitamin C and vitamin D? I find it completely a waste of resources in a time where we definitely need them. So they're definitely watching everybody and picking through what everybody's saying and doing really, really carefully. And that feels really strange. And I've been watching it go on, and I'm glad that I at least am saying it out here. What was that like for you? Because it's weird for me.
It's definitely been weird for me, because especially, since I've known you, since I've worked for you, I've seen how this model has worked in people's lives, and I see it every day. And yet, you go online and you just see all this really negative talk about chiropractors, about holistic practitioners, about holistic treatments, about how these things like couldn't possibly work, or pseudoscience, snake oil, like scam. Like, people like to put labels and like attack things that like they don't understand. But it doesn't just come from like individuals. This has been a concerted effort from the pharmaceutical and the medical industry for a really long time. And instead of trying to make it like a collaborative effort with like holistic doctors, or trying to see why so many people are seeking the middle ground, instead it has to turn into a combative argument where, automatically people just have to put down holistic health and holistic science because it goes against what they believe. Like, and I think there's so much closed-mindedness, with this.
It's
with
absurd.
everything.
The closed-mindedness, we have a patient, speaking of the closed-mindedness on their side, she is healing her thyroid. She's doing fantastic. Holistically. And she asked her doctor, like, because we don't take people off medicine, it's up to them to talk to their doctor. I don't even talk about it. I say, talk to your doctor about it. I didn't prescribe it to you. Go talk to the prescribing doc. And this woman went to her prescribing doc, and she wanted to take a little bit less because she has some symptoms from this medication. And the doctor said, absolutely no. And, most people are just frightened, and that they're like, okay, that's what I'm doing. And this woman decided to continue to do what her doctor said, good for her. But she did it for a month, but she felt horrible for a month. And then she got a second opinion, was able to do something different, and, was therefore starting to be relieved of her, medication-related symptomatology. But this small-mindedness is just, it's uncalled for. We need to all work together, I've worked in many settings, as you've known, and all of them work.
Yeah.
And each patient needs a different amount of medication, or a different amount of a kind of adjustment, or a different amount of supplement, or a different amount of exercise. And it's so unfair that there's such a small-mindedness of right and wrong, and even unfair of the duality. We're living in a world of spectrums. It's a rainbow, baby. It's not black and white. So we need to learn and start opening our hearts, and hearts first. Open your heart, then the mind will follow. Next is a really funny story. I figure we would end light because we've been going for a while, so let's wrap up. So this weekend was Molly's birthday, so happy birthday to Molly.
Thank you.
However, we were celebrating, but Dr. Bland is on a mission, so I'm training, and I'm eating a very specific diet. And we were looking for grilled chicken, which was
impossible.
Yeah,
I mean, trying to balance eating healthy while eating away from home is very difficult.
Super difficult.
And, it took calling to multiple restaurants,
getting a bunch of wrong orders,
going to places where I showed up at the time and they said, oh, we just put that order in, like, come back in another 30 minutes.
Or we're not sure what you wanted. You wanted chicken, right?
Yeah.
Like asking for like a plain chicken breast with nothing on it and a side of vegetables is like an insane ask for, a lot of restaurants. And it's really interesting, to be somebody who needs to eat a special way. It's just been who I am my whole life. I relate to a lot of my patients because when I was a young man, I had a parasite from an awesome vacation in Mexico with my dad. And, I had to go on an extremely strict diet at 11. So I've been doing this my whole life. And the difference for me and you can attest to this. When I don't eat right, I'm probably just laying in bed the whole time. Like I can lay in bed for a whole weekend after a work week. I can go from Friday to Sunday if I'm not healthy, and it's really, crazy. There's other people who are a whole lot worse off than me with their food allergies. So it's really interesting. This, the grill. It's like it was like a Seinfeld episode. The grilled chicken. Can't get a piece of grilled chicken. And then we were sitting at the hotel, and I'm watching this commercial. I hadn't seen a commercial, and there's Rick Ross talking about chicken thighs and Wingstop. And they were talking about a chicken shortage, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I've been looking for a piece of grilled chicken all weekend. It's been nearly impossible. So I go online, and I start looking, and I researched it to the point where Tyson is the largest corporation that owns the most meat and animals, livestock, etc. in the country. And what they did is they took their regular roosters out who produce and put these new guys in, and it's just not working. So there actually is some sort of chicken shortage. So if you're looking for chicken breasts and it's a little more expensive, there's a reason. But like Molly said, and she made a really good point, a lot of us are away, and there are times where we can't be a mile away from where we practice or have a refrigerator. So that's where the preparation goes into hand big time, is when you go home, you have that, there's a meal there that you can just heat up really quick in a pot on the oven, and you could eat healthy rather than be like, oh, there's nothing there, let me go get some let me go get a burger, let me get a burrito and listen to Tom Petty or whatever you're doing at night.
Because it's so easy. There is a McDonald's on every corner, there's a fast food restaurant, and to find a plain grilled chicken breast with a salad was next to impossible.
The easiest place would have probably been McDonald's. But since there's a chicken shortage, there's no...
They have no grilled chicken.
They have no grilled chicken. So, it's just this reality of... it's hard to win, and when you're out, you got to make the best choices. And I talk about this with my patients a lot. Like, I have patients who are on the road, and it's really cool to see some of them adapting some of the choices. Like when you go on the road, we always bring carrots and hummus, carrying a blender, with some protein powder and some fruit and a cooler. It could go a really long way, and you could wind up eating a whole lot healthier when you're away. Sometimes you're prepared, other times you're not so prepared. We weren't very prepared this weekend because it was a last minute trip, and it was over 100 degrees here.
Yeah, and avoiding the heat wave type situation.
But we stuck with the diet plan, and we
did the best that we could.
We did the best that we could, and I think that we planned very well. And I might have gotten hungry once or twice, but, we all had an amazing time.
Yeah, and that's how life goes. You do the best you can with the circumstances that you have, and you can't be upset when you have to stray off. You just get back on and you keep moving.
Yeah, so that was beautiful. So now we are going to wrap up, and I'm going to leave you guys with something very special that I worked very hard on. I've been a little absent on social media because I've been working on new music. I worked on this new album. Shout out to my man John Carroll on the drums. At the end of this podcast, we're going to throw on the album so you guys can listen to it. So I'm really excited for you guys to check it out. It is an inspirational piece of music about living. It's about living and finding that life is art, and that the only way to live is through your art. And whether that's just your art is how you live your life, or you have a specific art that you do, this was the one. I really put my heart and soul into it. So I think it'll be beautiful, and I can't wait for you guys to check it out. So it'll be coming up in just a minute. So with that, we just want to wrap it up, tell you we love you.
We love you guys.
And you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.